Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly recap. Well, kind of, not really. Today we're mainly going to be doing a recap of the new equipment rebalance proposal, which is looking like it might be one of the last iterations of the ranged rebalance. Now, because we have a Kingdom Divided coming out next week, there is no game update today, but I still thought it would be a good day to go over the new proposal. Now, unlike a normal weekly recap, this is going to be a little bit more opinionated, so just bear that in mind. Anyway guys, as always, if you do enjoy these videos, don't forget to leave the video a like, always helps out a lot. Anyway guys, let's get started. Alright, so on May 28th, we got another proposal for the ranged rebalance, specifically talking about the Blowpipe, but there are a few other things in here as well. This is iteration number, God, I actually don't know anymore. 3 or 4 at the least, and I mean, I gotta say, props to jagex for actually sticking with it this long. So I definitely appreciate all the effort on this one. Now, in case you don't know anything about the range rebalance, just a quick summary. The game's developers, as well as the majority of players, could probably agree that the toxic blowpipe is incredibly strong. However, what people couldn't really agree on is what is to be done about it. Some people think the toxic blowpipe should be nerfed, other people think it should remain unchanged. Some players think it should be nerfed a lot, while others think it should just be nerfed minorly. Now, a couple of weeks ago, jagex ran a survey, which is different from a poll. The survey wasn't meant to decide anything, it was mainly just meant to gauge people's opinion on a certain question. For example, 78% of people think the current ranged meta is stale. 61% of the respondents think introducing a new range reward that would cause power creep is a problem. 93% of people said the toxic blowpipe should be the best ranged item against low defense monsters. Now, based on this survey, it does look like a lot of people agree that the toxic blowpipe is very strong, but of course there are going to be biases for who would actually answer the survey in the first place. Also, these answers are the ones that jagex has been showing us. However, there were quite a few other questions on the survey that just don't happen to make it here. But regardless, they are probably going to be making this change anyway, so let's move on. Now, one of the biggest differences in the newest proposal here is actually the way they're going to be balancing darts. Now, they have provided a table on how they are planning on balancing darts bronze through dragon. Now, you can see the major difference in the newest proposal is that they have stripped the accuracy bonus off of all of the darts. So from bronze darts all the way through the dragon darts, they provide 0 accuracy. However, to compensate, they have increased the strength bonus pretty well from mithril darts onwards. Now, this is actually a fairly interesting approach because they've actually fundamentally changed 2 items. Sure, by nerfing the accuracy and buffing the strength on the darts, that is going to have a direct effect on the toxic blowpipe because, well, you shoot the darts out of the blowpipe. Right now, you can use the blowpipe against a wide variety of monsters. It doesn't really matter if they have a super high defense because the darts have accuracy, the blowpipe has decent accuracy. The special attack, well, let's not talk about that one. So with the combination of changing the darts and just a direct nerf to the stats on the blowpipe should remain decent against things with low defense monsters, but become not as viable against things with high defense. Now, there is another ramification of changing the darts themselves, and that is that they are an independent range training weapon. A lot of players will often use low-level darts to train on stuff like sand crabs, rock crabs, ammonite crabs, stuff like that. Places where your ranged accuracy doesn't really matter at all. So assuming that you are using at least mithril darts, which most players are because they're dirt cheap, your ranged experience per hour and overall DPS might actually go up because stripping the ranged accuracy is going to be fairly irrelevant at monsters with 0 defense. Now, they do point out how it is technically possible that they could have some custom exceptions. So for example, the darts have 0 accuracy when used with the toxic blowpipe, but they would have an accuracy bonus when used by themselves. Personally, I really don't like that idea. I think the fewer times we can use a band-aid solution like that, the better, as it can become very confusing. So in the end, while darts actually might be a bit stronger against low defense monsters using mithril or better darts, the actual blowpipe is getting nerfed fairly substantially. So the current blowpipe in game has an accuracy of 60 and a strength of 40. However, with the new proposal, that would be cut in half, 30 accuracy and 20 strength. Now, with that said, they are going to buff one thing about it, and that's going to be the special attack. Now, when you use the special attack, you're going to be getting a 100% accuracy boost, so maybe that won't be such a meme now. Now, continuing on with the dart discussion, there is another concern regarding it, and that is the fact that with the current proposal, rune darts and dragon darts are going to become very strong. It's going to be the meta to have those, and some players have very limited access to both of those darts, specifically Ironman. So one of the more popular suggestions for this is to add in Amethyst Darts. These would be a high level dart that would place themselves somewhere between rune and dragon. So the proposed stats for the Amethyst Dart is going to be 0 accuracy, of course, but 28 strength. So that is going to be moderately better than Rune Darts, but still significantly worse than Dragon. Now they have done calculations regarding this, and the +2 range strength bonus is not going to be that much of a game changer for the majority of situations. For example, with best in slot gear, that would not be an additional max hit even at 112 ranged and rigor. However, there will be a max hit gain when using Amethyst Darts at specific ranged attack values. Now to make Amethyst Darts, you would require 89 crafting and 90 fletching. Currently, you can mine amethyst, and 1 amethyst would turn into 15 dart tips when smith and craft. So this would also add in an additional fletching training method. Now I'm a fairly big fan of Amethyst Darts. Right now it's kind of awkward, the dart progression. It goes from adamant darts, which are dirt cheap. Adamant darts are only worth 65. And then it immediately jumps up to like 800 for the rune dart and then nearly 3,000 for the dragon dart. Even though amethyst is shooting up in price right now, at the current values, an amethyst dart will be worth around 300 GP, maybe even less because it is going to be a fletching training method. So an objectively stronger dart is going to be 300 GP, while the rune dart currently is 700 or 800. Most people probably won't use it that much. So in the end, with the new dart changes, the new amethyst dart, the blowpipe stat nerf, what does that look when you're actually equipping a blowpipe like you normally would with both the dart and the blowpipe? Well, across the board, the accuracy is very low. Accuracy is going to be a flat 30, and across the board, strength is going to be quite a bit weaker in comparison as well. However, once you get up to rune, amethyst, and dragon, it will be quite a bit closer to the strength bonus of the pre-nerf blowpipe, however, of course, with much lower accuracy. Now, for the max hits, they haven't really changed that much. For dragon darts, the max hit is only 1 or 2 less. But of course, the lower darts are more affected, and there's a flat less accuracy across the board. Okay, so let's move on from the blowpipe to another fairly hotly contended item, and that is the crystal armor. The crystal armor is a fairly iconic piece of equipment that you obtain from doing the Elven Quest storyline. However, it's very rarely used, mainly just because the stats don't really compare to other items at its tier, and it also has an upkeep cost to use. Now, the main things they want to do is straight up just flat up boost the numbers pretty well across the board. Secondly, they want to redistribute how the set effect works. With the current crystal armor in game, if you have all of the pieces equipped, you will get a 15% damage boost and a 30% accuracy boost. But there is one problem with that. You can't wear a Slayer helm. To where it never made sense to use the crystal armor while slaying because it would break your set effect because you need to wear the Slayer helm. And at that point, you might as well just wear another piece of armor. So the cliff notes here is the range accuracy, and all of the pieces are going to be increased by 1 per piece, granting higher range accuracy than both Black Dragonhide and Karill's. The melee defense on all of the pieces have been increased slightly. The magic defense of the crystal helmet has been lowered slightly, and another significant change is they've actually reduced the weight of all the pieces, making it less hefty to run around with. With the new proposal, you're only going to get a 5% accuracy and 2.5% strength bonus from the helmet, with the vast majority of it coming from the body and the legs. Essentially, that means you can swap in a Slayer helmet with a crystal body and legs, and that will provide you with a 40% range accuracy bonus and a 27% range damage bonus while on a Slayer task, which should make it a lot more popular. Now, while originally they were planning on buffing the crystal bow, they seem to have instead gone with a new proposition, and that would actually be to introduce a new crystal bow, and they're going to be calling it the Bow of Faerdhinen. Why can't they just pick easier names for once? So the gauntlet would no longer reward players with the Blade of Saldor. Instead, you would now receive an enhanced crystal weapon seed, which could be used to either make the Blade of Saldor or the Bow of Faerdhinen. Compared to the crystal bow, it would be significantly stronger, having an attack bonus of 138 versus the crystal bow's 100. Now, if you already have a Blade of Saldor, you would be able to transform it into an enhanced crystal weapon seed for 250 crystal shards, and of course you could switch it back. The Bow of Faerdhinen would require 75 range to equip, and would benefit from the range and damage accuracy boost from the crystal armor set. Similar to the Blade of Saldor, the bow could also be made corrupted, allowing it to have infinite charges. Now, it seems like the reason that they didn't just go ahead and buff the crystal bow a bunch is because it is a tier 70 weapon, it's not that hard to obtain, and to make it competitive, they would actually have to buff it a significant amount, making it not really congruent with other weapons at that level. So the Bow of Faerdhinen was the solution. It would be a tier 75 weapon, and a very strong one at that. I mean, it has been a long time since we've had a new weapon, although that said, I would be happy saving it for a piece of new content. I feel like in general, limiting how much new best in slot gear we give to each new content release is a good idea. For example, the Nightmare just had a boatload of stuff on it. That said, at this point, I'm kind of happy to get any new content, so the Bow of Faerdhinen sounds like a decent compromise. Now, there has been a bit of a push to make crossbows stronger in the meta, and they do want to do something about it. However, they're not going to be buffing crossbows directly. What they're going to actually be buffing are the offhand items that you can wear while wearing a crossbow. For example, the Odium Ward, the Dragonfire Ward, and the Twisted Buckler are all going to become stronger. They are going to be given a range strength bonus of +4 for the Odium Ward, +8 for the Dragonfire Ward, and +10 for the Twisted Buckler, which would give a +1 max hit for the Odium Ward, and +2 for the Dragonfire Ward and the Twisted Buckler. Now once again, there is another item that would be affected here, and that would be Chinchampas. By increasing the range strength bonus on these offhand items, that would actually increase the max hit of Chinchampas. For example, Black Chinchampas max hit would go from 23 up to 25, which is a DPS increase of 8.6%. That's significant. Black Chinning is a training method, already gives nearly up to a mil XP per hour, so 8% over that is fairly significant. Now, because they are going to be buffing offhand items to make crossbows stronger, they are going to be nerfing the Dragon Hunter crossbow. So yeah, that statement sounds a little counterproductive, but the Dragon Hunter crossbow specifically has a % damage multiplier, which can get a bit out of hand when you make changes to other items. So to compensate for that, they are going to be bringing the % damage bonus from the Dragon Hunter crossbow from 30% down to 25%. Now essentially what that means is if you have a lower level offhand weapon or no offhand weapon, you will be doing less damage than before. However, if you have a Dragonfire Ward or a Twisted Buckler equipped, you're most likely going to be doing more damage. Now there is one other crossbow that they are specifically going to be making a change to, and that would be the armadyl crossbow. They are going to be changing the special attack. Currently the special attack just doubles your accuracy for one shot, however they want to add in an additional effect. On top of the accuracy boost, you're also going to get a boost to the activation chance of your bolts. So while using the special attack, for example, the diamond bolt would go from a 10% chance of proccing to a 20% chance. By far from guaranteed, but it would help out a bit and give the special attack a little bit more weight. Alright, so that is pretty much it for all of the major changes in the equipment rebalancing for range. There are a few other things they touch on at the bottom. For example, buffing Shazian armor a bit to make the Blowpipe kind of viable against Lizardman Shamans. And they talk about the Inferno a bit, but there are no actual changes down there. Now what jagex is hoping all of these changes will accomplish is to switch up the meta significantly. What they define the meta as right now, for at least late game ranged weapons, is you'd use the Twisted Bow against any high magic targets without low defense, the Dragon Hunter crossbow for anything against dragons, and the Toxic Blowpipe against everything else. Which I think to some extent is pretty much true. I mean, some things they are forgetting are the crossbow, which you'd use in the wilderness, and of course there's a bit more variety in lower level weapons. So here's how they're hoping it would look. Twisted Bow once again against high magic targets, Dragon Hunter crossbow against dragons, Toxic Blowpipe against low defense monsters. You'd use the armodyl crossbow against mid to high defense targets when the boss has enough hit points for ruby bolts to be effective. And then you'd use the Bow of Faerdhinen against mid to high defense monsters when you wouldn't really use ruby bolts. Some of the more minor changes is that crossbows in general, and specifically the shields, will be stronger. Crystal armor will have higher defense and will be usable with a Slayer helmet. The crystal bow will be a little bit stronger. Darts will be a bit stronger against low defense monsters on their own. And there will be a buff to Chinchampas when using a ranged offhand. So after all of those changes, it looks like the ranged meta will be about as varied as the magic meta, which is an improvement but still worse than melee. I think melee still offers the most varied amount of weapons to use. So anyway guys, that is it for the most recent equipment rebalance proposal. There may be additional changes in the future, but overall, I think I'm fairly happy with most of the changes they're making here. I think it's going to be fairly hard to predict all the different ways that this could affect the game, from darts being different, from Chinchampas being stronger, all of these different stat changes. So I think as long as jagex is willing to make a lot of adjustments after this gets released, I don't really see an issue making these changes. But of course, what do you guys think? I'm always curious to know what you guys think about this. If you do have something to say, leave a comment down below. I will read all of it. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Now before I go here, as always, I want to give a big shout out to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Cappy, Colin Corley, Timothy Chen, Wolf of the Hunt, Guy Fox, Ocelot, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed at the Dragon tier. You guys are truly amazing. Thank you as always. Also a giant shout out to Lord Dojin, All Things Gaming, Yo-Yo Sup, Need My Pills, Branton Griffin, Birdbot, and Base Titch for being subscribed at the Runite tier. And as always, if you guys are looking for another way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. You can get immortalized in all of my future videos, get access to my video release schedule, and of course, get a custom role in my Discord server. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you next time.